Here are scenes from the streets of Haikou City, Hainan, after Typhoon Yagi. You can see that many of the storefronts have been blown down to their frames, with no roof or doors. The streets are littered with fallen trees, overturned cars, and scattered debris. Even huge trucks weighing dozens of tons were flipped over, and factories were left with only skeletal remains. Everywhere you look, it's a picture of devastation and destruction. Many residents lost their roofs, windows, and doors to the typhoon, leaving their homes in shambles.
Everything is ruined. The house is leaking, the kitchen is flooded, the roof is gone, and even the toilet is destroyed. Our chicken coop is wiped out too. Look at the main gate. It's completely knocked down. The whole house is exposed, with no roof left. Luckily, we weren't home when the typhoon hit. Just thinking about it is terrifying.
In this video, you can see a home of a farmer in Wenchang County, Hainan, after the typhoon. The entire property from the gate to the house, kitchen, and toilet has been wrecked. The roof has been blown away, and the place is a total mess. It's heartbreaking to see. The footage shows a building over 10 stories tall, where every balcony and window has been shattered by the typhoon. On Binhai Avenue in Haikou City, nearly all the coconut trees were snapped. A local mentioned that coconut trees are known for their strength, having adapted to survive on Hainan Island for centuries. But the power of this typhoon was so immense that even they couldn't withstand it. Due to the power and water outages, daily life has become extremely difficult. Many people are gathering at temporary water supply points, waiting for water. Some are even fetching water directly from rivers. Bathing has become a challenge too, with many residents washing in the rivers, while others are washing their hair out in the streets with whatever water they can get. Drinking water has also been a problem, though luckily Hainan is abundant in coconut trees, and coconut water has become a temporary source of hydration. According to Chinese media, Typhoon Yagi, which brought winds up to level 17, caused direct economic losses nearing 80 billion yuan in 4 cities and counties across Hainan: Haikou, Wenchang, Chiangmai, and Linggao. This accounts for 9.4% of last year's total GDP for Hainan, which was 755.1 billion yuan, equating to a loss of about 10,000 yuan per person. In comparison, Typhoon Ramasan, which hit 10 years ago, caused 12 billion yuan in damage. The economic impact of Yagi is more than 6 times greater. Videos shared online show that many buildings and houses had their windows and doors blown away, with large numbers of trees uprooted or knocked down. Banana, papaya, betel nut, and durian trees were all heavily impacted by the strong winds, while marine farming was destroyed, leaving beaches strewn with debris and dead fish filling fish farms. Poultry farms were also wiped out, with chickens blown away by the winds. The cities of Wenchang and Haikou were particularly hard hit. According to follow-up information from the WeChat account Wenchang Announcements, after Typhoon Yagi passed, the entire city of Wenchang suffered serious damage to its water, electricity, communication, gas, roads, and fuel station infrastructure. Both cities' agriculture and aquaculture industries were nearly wiped out, with widespread damage to buildings and vehicles. The official report from the Chinese Communist Party stated that the 2 cities alone faced economic losses nearing 60 billion yuan. After Typhoon Yagi hit, the power grid in Wenchang suffered massive damage. It almost needs a complete rebuild. Nearly all of Wenchang's circuits were destroyed, so many places are now without power. Villagers said that local transport and communications have been down for days. They're currently focusing on repairing cities and key towns, while rural areas have to fend for themselves. By September 10th, 4 days after the typhoon passed, Wenchang's high-speed rail station was still without power. According to the data released by the Hainan Power Grid Company, as of September 10th, there were 685 10-kilovolt lines out of service, of which 485 had been restored. 79 substations of 35 kilovolts and above were down, and 54 have been restored. There were 28,000 transformer areas out of service, and 20,000 have been restored. To speed up disaster assessment and recovery, Southern Power Grid Company quickly sent 15,008 personnel, 3,475 vehicles, and 2 helicopters to aid Hainan. They also deployed hundreds of pieces of heavy equipment, including large drones, emergency power vehicles, and aerial work vehicles. However, in some heavily affected areas, the entire power grid might need to be rebuilt. Road blockages are slowing down recovery efforts since vehicles and equipment can't reach the disaster zones. Those with electric cars really suffered during the blackout. Many charging stations were damaged, so people had to wait in line for hours at the few working ones. Some waited all day and all night without success. When someone finally charged their electric car, they rushed to help their neighbors charge their phones.
See this long line? Can you guess what kind of cars these are? They're all electric vehicles, lined up to charge. This typhoon, with winds over 17 levels, destroyed many charging stations, so the few remaining ones are now packed. Because this charging station near us still works, a lot of cars have come to line up here. Many residential areas still don't have power, so people charge their cars here to take power back home for their phones. Some have been waiting for hours. It's really tough. Haikou got hit really hard this time. It's the 4th day since the typhoon, so let's go take a look. The city's main roads used to have many large trees that fell in the middle of the road. Most of them have been cleared up now. However, the side roads are still mostly untouched. So many trees fell that the cleanup work is overwhelming. Haikou has another big issue: electricity. To restore power to the entire city, I estimate it will take at least a week.
Due to the many fallen trees, chainsaws are in high demand, causing their prices to skyrocket.
Chainsaws in Hainan used to cost 300 or 400 yuan each. Now they're over 1,000. Can you imagine? This house here was just built, costing tens of thousands of yuan. And now it doesn't even have a roof. All that's left are a few chickens. I have no idea how they survived the typhoon. Coconut trees, usually the most resilient, were broken. Luckily, our betel nut trees are still standing because they're smaller, but other big trees are gone. If a farmer loses their betel nut grove, they lose their income for years. They used to earn tens or hundreds of thousands of yuan a year. The whole roof is gone. It's a good thing my dad wasn't sleeping here that night. Otherwise, who knows where he'd have ended up. As far as you can see, there isn't a single tree with intact leaves. This coconut tree was uprooted, and this decades-old banyan tree was snapped in half. It had a diameter of 70 or 80 centimeters, and now it's just gone.
A woman visited Wenchang City after the typhoon and discovered that a centuries-old historic building had collapsed. She frequently traveled to Hainan and was familiar with this ancient structure. Seeing it in ruins, she felt deeply saddened. Here in Qinglong Village, Puqian Town, Wenchang City, Hainan, you can see the building. It's such a pity. This is a house over 200 years old that I had researched before. It has completely collapsed. Luckily, the main house is still standing.
This is Haikou Bay Park, a place where I often come for my evening runs. I found a refrigerator blown into the parking lot. Who knows where it came from? The big trees along the beach were uprooted, leaving huge pits. It's heartbreaking. The railings by the sea are all gone. Stone benches for resting were scattered everywhere. The damage along the shore is severe, and the destruction in the city is just as bad.
Agriculture and farming were hit even harder. After the typhoon, almost nothing was spared.
What does heartbreak look like? Look at this. These are fallen betel nut trees. There were at least 2,000 betel nuts on these trees. I borrowed over 1 million yuan to start a farm, and now the typhoon has destroyed everything. How am I supposed to live? This is the cold storage. The typhoon wrecked it. Look at the sweet potatoes. They're all ruined. The vegetable greenhouses were all blown away. Last year's banana crops were also wiped out.
The typhoon dealt an unprecedented blow to Wenchang's famous chicken farming industry. Local farmers said that the chicken coops were toppled by the wind, killing or scaring many chickens to death. The subsequent water and power outages, combined with the hot weather, led to even more deaths. A blogger from Sanya, whose family owns a chicken farm in Wenchang County, couldn't contact his parents the whole night of the typhoon on September 6th. The next day, he rushed back to his hometown, only to find trees uprooted everywhere. When he finally arrived home, he saw the collapsed chicken coops and many dead chickens. Nearly all the trees they had planted were also blown down, resulting in a massive loss. After the typhoon, the chicken coops lost power and water. He and his father had to carry a generator weighing dozens of kilograms and walk for more than half an hour to pump water. Fallen trees were scattered all over the fields. The typhoon destroyed the chicken coops, killing most of the chickens on the spot. These sacks are full of dead chickens, hundreds of them. Almost all the chicken farmers in Wenchang face the same situation. Everyone is busy cleaning the coops, but without water and electricity, most of the work has to be done manually. It's incredibly inconvenient. They waited 4 days for an excavator, but even then, the roads had to be cleared first because of fallen branches and trees. This forest was originally theirs, and they hoped to sell the trees when they matured, but now they're worthless. After an afternoon of clearing, a medium-sized excavator finally arrived at the farm to bury the dead chickens. Wenchang chicken has a 400-year history. It has a thin, tender skin and fragrant meat. The Wenchang chicken farming industry is a vital local pillar, with almost 16,000 people involved in raising chickens, producing over 60 million chickens annually. The super typhoon has disrupted the supply of this chicken, affecting the entire supply chain, including downstream coconut chicken restaurants. Several coconut chicken brands. According to Chinese media, on September 8th, the WeChat public account of the Shenzhen-based coconut chicken chain Siji Yelin announced that their 4 Wenchang chicken farms in Hainan suffered severe damage due to the typhoon. Consequently, all of their stores' Wenchang chicken supplies are significantly affected, and the company will limit the supply for the next 6 months. The coconut chicken brand Tongren Siji also reported severe damage to its Wenchang chicken farm. On September 10th, another coconut chicken brand, Renyuan Siji, said that one of its farms was heavily hit, containers collapsed, power facilities were destroyed, large trees were uprooted, and roofs were blown off, leaving only metal frames. Their coconut farm was also badly damaged, prompting the company to increase the procurement of Thai coconuts. Hainan Wenchang Chicken Company had nearly 20,000 chickens affected, and the numbers continue to rise. According to Non-HaiNet's report on September 10th, the mortality rate of Wenchang chickens across Wenchang City reached 60%, with approximately 13.2 million chickens lost, resulting in an economic loss of about 200 million yuan. Some large-scale farmers lost over 10 million yuan each. According to Chinese media outlet Yi Cai, chicken farmer Yun Yongzhou shared his plight. "I have 4 children to feed, and my main source of income is raising Wenchang chickens. I expanded the farm this year, but Typhoon Yagi wiped out my efforts. Only a few hundred of the larger chickens are left, and all the chicks have died. The typhoon caused at least 600,000 yuan in economic losses." Another farmer said, "The farm was a complete wreck after the typhoon. It blew away our metal roofs and tore off the roof of the makeshift office next to the production line. Many chickens died in the wind. Initially, we counted 3,000 to 4,000 dead." Despite rescue efforts, the farms face ongoing challenges like damaged chicken coops, high temperatures, water shortages, lack of repair materials, and insufficient manpower. The rescue cannot keep up with the speed at which the chickens are dying. Additionally, some farmers reported that their chickens and cattle disappeared, and rice crops were destroyed. According to official data, as of September 8th, the total loss in agriculture, animal husbandry, and fishing in Hainan province was approximately 12 billion yuan, excluding the impact on fishing vessels, with direct economic losses in the livestock industry totaling 2.4 billion yuan. Xuwen County in Guangdong Province was another area severely affected by the typhoon. Aquaculture farms there were entirely destroyed, turning a year's hard work into nothing. One farmer said he felt like crying but had no tears left. This woman relocated to Hainan to lease land for pineapple farming. After the typhoon, she was left with nothing. "I invested 300,000 yuan and had been growing pineapples for over half a year. They were supposed to bear fruit next year. I had promised to treat everyone to pineapples. Now there's nothing left. Only the 4-year land lease remains. See for yourself how much I lost in one typhoon. Look at my neighbor's off-season pineapples, set to harvest next month. Now there isn't a single one left. Pineapples are generally resistant to wind due to their low height, but strong winds are simply unstoppable. The typhoon has also caused significant damage to coastal wind turbines in Wenchang's Mulan Bay. Several turbines were snapped in half. According to Chinese media reports, these turbines belong to Huaneng Hainan Power Generation Company, a subsidiary of China Huaneng Group. The company stated that this wind turbine project was still under construction and had not yet begun generating electricity. About 5 or 6 turbines were toppled by Typhoon Yagi, though video footage shows at least 7 broken turbines. Based on news reports, the average cost of one wind turbine is about 11.7 million yuan, resulting in a direct economic loss of over 80 million yuan. Many online users are questioning the necessity of such massive investments if these projects cannot withstand a typhoon. Many Chinese netizens took to Weibo to voice their opinions on the wind farm damage. The typhoon-resistant turbines couldn't hold up. I thought the stronger the wind, the more power they'd generate. Just take them all down quickly. According to Chinese media reports, the Mulan Bay wind power project is part of the capacity expansion for Huaneng Hainan's Wenchang wind farm. It involves the installation of 16 new 6.25 megawatt typhoon-resistant wind turbines, with a total installed capacity of 100 megawatts. The project was scheduled for completion in October of this year. It was designed to withstand typhoons with wind speeds of up to 50 meters per second, a once-in-50-year event. However, experts explained that because these turbines were still under construction and not yet operational, the wind-resistant mechanisms couldn't be activated. Hainan is also home to many large pharmaceutical companies. After the typhoon, several publicly traded companies issued statements about the impact of Typhoon Yagi. Hainan Haiyao stated in its announcement that some buildings, factories, inventory, and landscaping were damaged. The estimated asset loss is expected to be no more than 15 million yuan. Shuangcheng Pharma reported that its facility in Haikou was affected by the combined disaster of the typhoon and heavy rain, causing damage to some equipment and systems. The preliminary estimate of these losses amounts to approximately 5.2 million yuan. Hans Group in Haikou was directly hit by the typhoon's eye, suffering severe damage. The company is still assessing the extent of the losses. Hainan Strait Shipping Company, which owns several seaports, reported that part of the new sea passenger transport hub were damaged. The preliminary loss estimate is around 90 million yuan. On September 7th, the National Development and Reform Commission of China announced that it urgently allocated 200 million yuan in central budgetary investment to support post-typhoon emergency recovery in Hainan and Guangdong. The funds will focus on the emergency restoration of damaged infrastructure and public services such as roads, bridges, water conservancy, schools, and hospitals, helping to restore normal production and living conditions as soon as possible. The response drew criticism from netizens. One user remarked, "Tens of thousands of people have lost their homes, farmlands are destroyed, and lives are in turmoil." What's infuriating is that the central government allocated only 200 million yuan for disaster recovery. This meager amount is an insult compared to the actual need. Remember, the central government spends 360 billion yuan on aid to Africa. Others mocked the government's response. 200 million? That's really like giving money to beggars. People were always just resources to be exploited. Now they're spending money on disaster relief for you. Quickly kneel and give thanks. By the time the 200 million reaches the common people of Hainan, it will probably be only worth 2 silver dollars. They throw 360 billion yuan at Africa, but only 200 million for this disaster in Hainan and Guangdong. Is this something a human would do? It's the act of a beast.